League. Dude, what are you doing? Welcome back. This is the Call of Duty World League. We are into week 3, day 2, and we just watched eUnited secure their spot at the top of the leaderboard. Perfect 4-0. But now we get a chance to see what's going to happen in the middle of the pack. Epsilon is going to be taking on Luminosity, and this is a matchup that I know Mr. Merck is very excited for. Merck, why are you looking forward to this matchup specifically?
I think just that Epsilon knows if they want to take a top 2 finish, they have to win this game going into tomorrow. They have to be 2-2 with Luminosity, a lot of pressure on the line. And it just seems like when Josh brings that energy, when they know there's a lot of pressure on them, they perform well.
We'll see if Epsilon's going to be able to get the job done. Hardpoint has been a big issue for our European teams. Let's take a look at our hardpoint leaderboard and see how our two teams stack up. Luminosity, we always talked about how strong the respawn game has been, and Octane, honestly, he's been a monster in the uplinks. He also tops the hardpoint leaderboard. Slack right behind him with a 1.11. This has been the duo. Now you have Classic and Saints also finishing with positive numbers in hardpoint. But eUnited, they only have 2 players. There's only 16 total here this weekend. Only 2 of them made the top 10, and Dave does it with a negative KD.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that Gunless stat line is crazy. The 1.11 KD, and he has the most defense on the entire board, which is pretty nutty. But even for the matchup we're going into now, Classic and Saints, yes, they're towards the bottom of that group, but still positive KDs. And Classic, 5.66 defense. Again, right behind Gunless. It's the second most probably at the LAN League so far, or at least for week number 3. So impressive numbers. When all 4 are in that top 10 margin, that's pretty good.
And tell me a little bit about the defense felony. For someone who doesn't follow Call of Duty and hardpoint specifically, it'll be our first game 1, first team to 250, but how do you get points in the defense column?
Defense are very important in hardpoint. If you are in the hill, racking up time, every kill that you get while the hill is contested, you get to defend. So those in-hill gunfights are very crucial, and those are what racks up the defense. So Classic having over 5.5 defense per hardpoint, that's a really big stat line. That means he's winning at least 5 to 6 gunfights in-hill per game.
All right, let's take a look at our numbers across the board. It's Luminosity coming in with the second highest seed from North America here in week 3. They looked great on day 1. In fact, they're even up 2-0 against eUnited before the reverse sweep came into play, and that's what really affected these numbers. You see the hardpoint win rate, it dropped. The uplink has definitely been their struggle, but the surprise here, their search and destroy, the game mode we always said was their weakest, it's now their strongest, at least here in Columbus.
Yeah, very surprising, especially that uplink win ratio. And going up against Epsilon, that's one of their best game types, so going to be very interesting. Now, I believe we're going to see Crusher search and destroy, which I'm very interested in game number 2, because if Epsilon was watching that previous game, they understand how Luminosity plays sort of that A and B bomb site defense. They love to play rotation. We'll see if Epsilon's able to adjust.
And that's something that eUnited was just talking about as well, the interview with Rossini. He said, we've actually seen Epsilon play this. We've seen them play on this map. So we rewatched their gameplay, and that's why we beat them so handily. And I think they beat them on that map 6-1. So pretty consistent. So Luminosity, they might have that same kind of mindset if they've watched the tape as well. It's going to be a battle.
Now, Epsilon, of course, they fell earlier in the day to eUnited on the main stage. That was match number 2. Luminosity, they opened up the day on the main stage, now playing in match number 4. You saw Octane yawning, and he's got to wake up because you're going up against some tough slayers. It looks like finally we have Dave, Hawkeye, Josh, and Vortex back to the top. Will they be able to pull off the upset this time around? It sounds like game number 1 is ready to roll. Let's send it over to our casters. We got Courage with TP.
Thank you, gentlemen. This one right here is my match of the day. Basically, a lot of this weekend is decided on how Epsilon performs in this series right here. TP, happy to have you join me as well in the casting booth. This is really do or die for Epsilon in this one.
Oh, it really is. It's going to see if we're going to get a bit of a shakeup in this group, and I can't see another EU team choke a close map, whether it's hardpoint, whatever. They need to get a clutch here. Now's the time to do it.
You know it's bad when Brycey tweets, it's been a couple bad weeks for EU COD in the Call of Duty World League. Can Epsilon be that good fortune and turn things around? They need quite the performance right here. It's game number 1, Scorch hardpoint. Off the break, we're watching Hawkeye, who actually him and Saints team, funny enough, were the 2 I saw warming up heavily prior to the series. The rest of the boys from either side, we're just hanging out, enjoying the match, and preparing mentally for this game.
Interesting. I wonder if that's going to come into play here. Octane starting off strong with this NV4 in this middle hardpoint. They're pushing out so heavily, forcing that Epsilon spawn into that back hanger. A great start for Octane, just needs to play his life. He's getting close to this Trinity rocket as well. Picks up the 5th. The guy hasn't missed a bullet yet in this first hill.
And you heard Puckett mention he was young and needs to turn up. Well, he has heard that call. Now 5-0. As you brought up, the lane being pushed is Drill. Slack does pick up on that, but for the moment, it will actually be LG spawning out in your hangar side. They'll have to fight back those tough spawns to your turbine. Octane still has yet to die in this hardpoint. Already 30 seconds to his name in just his first hill. And look at how close he's getting to those streaks. Warden, he's actually got on as well.
Yeah, very interesting. Teammates stealing some of his kills. There is one player from Epsilon playing in this corner.
Oh.
Dave picks up both. So Octane doesn't get up those score streaks. Unfortunately, a nice rotation and a nice play from Dave. Spots the last player. Nice little 3 streak from him. And what a play, shutting down the score streak.
That's a beautiful job. The positioning has been huge for Dave. Now 4 in a row inside this warehouse area. And there's even more about to come into his sight lines. He's got the help of Vortex as well. So that solid start of a 37-10 lead for LG is going to be destroyed right away, and a lot of it comes off the back of this man on your screen, Dave, who is still alive, finally gets cut down, but it takes 3 players from LG pushing towards his area.
Vortex doing his best with his teammate. A bit of a pinch going on at that box on the side. Octane picks up the first and picks up the second as well. Octane seems to be the guy for LG right now. They clear this out, get this 15 seconds of scrap. They have a comfortable lead going in to this hangar hardpoint. Doesn't look like they're playing the black, though, on the rotation at all.
And TP, Octane is actually a player who began to really break out into the scene as you kind of transition from pro player into on-camera talent in MLG in the Call of Duty World League. What is it about him that makes him such a solid, consistent player in competitive Call of Duty?
What really makes him unique is he plays on a little bit of a higher sense for an AR player than we're sort of used to seeing. Saints with a nice kill over towards hallway as they break into this hard point. We saw Epsilon rotate and get a good setup. LG just walks straight in, but he plays on a bit of a higher sense and just has that sort of snapshot that we don't really see too often from these slower sort of AR players.
Yeah.
But, well, he's got it.
Oh, most certainly, and that snapshot is really something you can't just teach someone. A lot of it comes down to reaction time and ability to get those analog sticks where they need to be. Dave with the quick 2-piece there to help Epsilon break back on through Hawkey. That's a snapshot we talk about. The 2-piece there will stop the pressure for the moment as, again, Epsilon scraping together some scrap time.
Yeah, some huge scrap time, and it's not very usual. You see 2 breaks on this hangar hardpoint. Both teams setting up quality breaks. This rotation over towards Drill looks like a pretty wide setup from LG originally on this one. Josh trying to find this kill at lab.
And TP, earlier we saw Luminosity play this exact map, and this was the hill they were dominant at, and it's because they get setups like this. Octane inside deck. You can see on the minimap Classic all the way pushed up. Look, 4 dead already on Epsilon. They were not expecting these players to be playing so far out of that Drill hardpoint. Even right now, look at where Classic is. This is so rare to spot a player on this backside. Epsilon are not ready for it at all.
Just beautiful setup from LG, and you can see those sort of split spawns. Finally, they're all together now, but LG took up that timing perfectly. Get as far out as you can, and then sort of compile back towards the hill. Epsilon answering back, though. Josh with 2 of his own, and no team can really get a lot of control. Off that initial play, you expect LG to get, what, 30, 40 seconds? Epsilon says, nah, we'll take that back from you.
They'll split the time, and this is something that has changed in the meta of this map over time. Due to certain positionings and way players use cover to their advantage, it's become better to actually push from this rock side than when trying to hold from blue. It used to be where you want blue, obviously have the spawns for Turbine, be ready for middle map hill. Now that's completely changed, and Epsilon show it right there as they flood back in. At the end of our first rotation, it will be an 18-second difference with Epsilon still playing close, but I mean, this is a story of European teams throughout this entire weekend, TP, where they keep it close and then something just falls flat at the end of the game that throws it away.
Yeah, I like to see them stack up a score streak, save something for those clutch scenarios, some sort of utility that can make their life just a bit easier. I want to highlight Vortex, number 2 on your minimap, doing such a great job on that top side of the map. Finally gets taken out, but he had a huge pinch on rotation to get them initial control of that side of the map and allowed his teammates to just kind of hang out in the hill.
114 to 114. Epsilon have tied this game on up. Saints and crew looking to contest this middle hill for as long as possible. They will finally break on through, it appears. There goes Dave. Another thing to keep in mind for people just tuning in, today's match is actually all wound up being European teams versus North American teams. Right now, NA is a perfect 3-0 in series. Epsilon the last hope to at least try to split this one as much as they can. Either way, they're down 14 now as Luminosity look for the break from Warehouse.
Every map going to be important. This one too. Classic opens up with 2 with that Erad, and it looks like a clean break.
Wow.
Octane picks up the last, and that just can't happen if you're Epsilon. You can't get 2 introed. You know, trading that first kill's fine. It happens. But to allow Classic to just get in with that Erad and pick up 2, really unacceptable from their setup, and they get broken way too easily.
And now Epsilon, they're trying to set people in the warehouse, but the timings are off. 2 people die. The last player on the outside catwalk is going to be Hawkeye. He's now dead, so that was just a failed push in all fronts, as they were just not on the same time frame. And now look at this. They're still sending 3 players towards this hard point. I mean, it gets to a spot, TP, where you're almost just kind of feeding streaks. And watch these spawns. Yeah, they're going to spawn closer to Hangar. They're spawning Luminosity closer to Hangar now, so they can keep a presence near this hard point. LG, they have someone in the new hill because of where they just pushed.
You can't do that. You can't do that. That's why the Scorch is going to snowball out of control. They fight. They sort of do that split push. 2 on rotation, 2 to the last hard point. They don't do anything on either side. You have to try and just give it up, sacrifice it, and get a good setup. They're down so much points. I get what they were trying to do, but make a decision. Can't go half and half there.
And now look at this from Classic. 1 kill off the Trinity rocket, a few from his camo. Certain tools that can help really secure this game 1 victory. There's the Trinity looking for the bombardment as well. LG have done what rarely happens, which is win the rotation from Turbine over to Hangar, and it's because of a grave misplay that I'm sure our analysts will break down later with Puckett there in the studio. Classic on the 7 streak. Team, this game is just done. A 100-point lead now nearly for Luminosity.
Talk a lot about fundamental gameplay and hardpoint. Epsilon just playing a really bad, not fundamental hardpoint at all. You can't keep fighting for those scraps. Yes, you're down 40, 50 seconds. It can be stressful in those situations, but it's kind of easy to hold down Hangar. You have to just sacrifice that time and, you know, trust your team that you're going to get a full 60. They don't do it, and now look how much they're down. A lot of points.
Oh, most certainly is. Now the rotation comes in. Already 2 kills for LG. They've got payloads to work with, streaks to use, and now the red arrows are swarming. Classic with camo as well. Trinity, bombardment. They're looking to end the game here with a exclamation mark, especially with these streaks to be used. It's a last-ditch effort now for Epsilon. 1 final push. I do believe they've clawed back into things for the moment, as they will hold on in game 1.
Nice FTL from Vortex, picks up the triple, spawns out LG, so they do have somewhat of a chance here, but LG only needs 17 more seconds. Vortex picks up another one, but looks like the Trinity going to be dropping down. All those streaks at the ready, and the camo for Classic doesn't pick up any kills, but it forces those players in a hill to get out of those comfortable situations. Now 3 dead. Octane's gonna, ooh, no, doesn't pick up the 4th. A nice shot from Josh.
So that we will see at least 1 more hill in this game, which will go back towards middle map. A bombardment, the streak you exactly want to have if you are LG for that one. Epsilon, you look at the scoreboard right now, a couple players negative, a couple players right around even. It's not like LG is outslaying by a monster amount either. It's just how they've played this map. They haven't made many mistakes, and that's why you've got players like Octane with 2 minutes and 15 seconds inside the hard point.
It's really both those turbines. Octane gets to that power box, just can't really do anything to get him out of it. Only about 10-ish seconds left now. Classic probably won't even have to use the camo in this game. He has the bombardment if he needs it as well. Dave doing his best to answer back towards middle, but the setup too strong. Looks like this game's gonna end pretty quickly. The last kill will seal the deal there. 250 to 167. An easy map, honestly.
Yeah. LG, while their S&D may have improved and their uplink looks worse this weekend, there's one thing that has stayed true, and it's their prowess in hardpoint. Everyone getting involved for LG. And as you said, Teep, they make that one look easy off the break there. You could just tell, we talked about it at the end of the first rotation, how close the game was as we went back towards Turbine. We both touched on it, how this has been the story of the European Call of Duty teams today. They keep it close, and then there's one moment that you could look at that really just separates that entire map. This example was when they sent 2 back towards Turbine, 2 to Hangar. They gave LG the closer spawns, and LG flooded in and won the gunfights, which is what they did the entire map.
We've talked a lot about Epsilon wanting to play fast, always trying to create these engagements in their favor, but you have to focus on the fundamentals as well. LG, they're such a quality team in Respawn, hardpoint in specific. You can't give them those openings, because if you do, we just saw what happens right there. The snowball goes out of control, and then once you go down 100, 120 points, all they need is a few seconds. They know what to do. That's when they amp up the pressure and close it out.
Epsilon, they've gotten to this point in the Global Pro League, but they haven't always had the same roster. There's been some new faces added to this lineup. Let's learn some more. Epsilon began the year with the roster of Vortex, Dave, Desire, and Hawkey. That roster had been teaming together since May of 2016. Throughout 2016, they grew together and improved together in what culminated in an incredible Cinderella story at the Call of Duty Championships later that year, where they placed 4th under the Fab Games banner. Unfortunately for them, this roster was not able to live up to that placing though in Infinite Warfare. This led to the decision to add Splice's Josh to the squad in place of Desire ahead of Dallas. The Epsilon squad came into Infinite Warfare with a new organization, and their confidence and expectations were at an all-time high. However, their inability to play in the first online 2K greatly affected their seeding for the CWL Vegas Open, and resulted in a trip to the open bracket. This, paired with rather lackluster play, resulted in just a top 36 finish at the game's first major event. Their first opportunity of the season to avoid the open bracket was at the CWL Paris Open, where they were able to secure a top 6 finish. But once again on American soil, Epsilon had to fight through the open bracket, failing to make their presence felt in Atlanta with just a top 24 finish.
Epsilon struggling to close this search and destroy out.
The new roster featuring Josh would play their first LAN together at the CWL Dallas Open, where they actually blew a 5-1 lead in Game 5 against Set to Destroy X. That put iGame in an advantage to steal their position for the final Global Pro League spot in the EU region. Luckily for Epsilon, G2 knocked iGame out of the tournament, sealing their bid into the Global Pro League. Heading into the GPL, all eyes will be on Josh's transition onto the team. At times, he bumped heads with his former teammates, but so far, he seems to have found a new home with Epsilon. Stage 1 now provides them with the opportunity to prove their new roster has what it takes to compete with the best in the world. Tune in May 5th through the 7th to see Epsilon compete in the CWL Global Pro League Stage 1. There's a look at Epsilon. You saw their road to get here, and right now, TP, it's do or die. Yes, they can still obviously perform well in this group. Maybe there's some miraculous scenarios where they can get in the top 2 if they lose this, but all things considered, I mean, this has to be a must-win match. Not only that, there's so much to qualify still for this year. Epsilon have all sights on at least getting top 3 in this group.
Well, 2 and 3, those hard points right there. Those usually you don't see one team getting the better of both of those hills. That's the huge problem right there. That's what summed up the deal. It seems like these European teams are so poor on these first hard points as well. Those are the contest heavy. You shouldn't be giving up such a, it is only 30 points, but still,
it adds up.
Those should be like 10, maybe.
Yeah. Well, right there, you see a difference in 3 of the 4 hills in favor of the North American squad. We're going to Crusher, Search, and Destroy next, and Luminosity actually did play this one earlier, so maybe this will help the boys of Epsilon to have already seen some gameplay here. If you are Epsilon and you got to watch some LG play earlier, are you trying to hard counter that? Are you just keeping it in mind? What's your mindset going into this game?
I think the biggest things you can sort of take advantage of in playing LG in S&D in general is taking advantage of the late round situations. I don't think LG's communication or overall strategy, I don't know what it is, but when these rounds last longer, it seems like that's when the LG breakdown in search starts to happen. So LG gonna try and probably play a faster style, just grouping up, taking those gunfights guaranteed. If they can get these rounds to last a little bit longer, I think they're gonna have some success.
Well, looking already from Epsilon, they've made their choice. It's B bomb site, and that's it. Vortex has snuck on through, which I actually do think, all right, I was gonna talk about how I do think that could favor Epsilon for a moment, but now once they see him cross, Luminosity put the pedal to the metal as they're gonna charge on through. Trophy system trying to stop these grenades. First challenger is already in. It's Classic and Octane. Dave and Josh with 2, and just like that, the outside pinch from Epsilon wipes LG off the map.
Quality, exactly what you need to do. Get that bomb down at B, just hold down your setup and get aggressive when you need to. If you know they're pressuring up towards that alley, you gotta send that player on that right side. Look at that, Dave hits it with the ERAD, picks up a couple of kills, and the trade's happening instantly, so a good start from Epsilon. LG, yeah, I mean, I always preach it on this map. You gotta gain some sort of information at B, they didn't do it.
One thing to mention is that is the exact strategy we saw all last time LG played, was 3-stack A, play for a retake at B, and Epsilon read it like a book. They go ahead and just rush the site and, call how Luminosity will play it. So smart plays from them.
Dave getting caught out a little bit early at you there. Bunch of bomb control going into LG's favor, but Vortex hits the timing there. Can he get the double? He does. Has to get the reload. Ooh, I thought they had a chance there, but crazy trades going in.
And that's like a round. Yeah, right? That's like an example of a round where you have control of the site if you're Luminosity, right? You're just planting the bomb. I feel like you're not expecting anyone to just sprint through that door and start firing with an ERAD. Most times it's like, let's play this pass, let me see if we can get a pick. There they try it. They do get 2, but in the end, it's a more efficient trade from LG to tie this game back up 1-1.
LG counters back. They get that first blood, and really straight up round so far. Picking a bomb site, getting that first blood where you can. But looks like a bit of an adaptation from LG coming in on this 3rd round.
It's time to fight fire with fire, baby. This is going to be another quick one. The wall run being hit. Slack there to trade the kill. Now down to a 3-on-3. LG do slow down for the moment as they don't want to get caught in any awkward scenario hitting these wall runs. I actually agree with this. I do like this play. Slow down the pace for a moment, but they don't have this high wall run watched. It's Josh sliding on in the 2-piece there from the head of Epsilon, and just like that, Octane's hightailing it out of there.
Yeah, originally you think LG has the advantage in that situation, but that high up wall run, he catches the timing, and they're just going to converge on this last player. They end that round as fast as possible. So quality gameplay from Epsilon there. They slow down just long enough so they can regain their bearings a bit.
Yep.
And then they just hit him right away.
I think that was really the one spot that wasn't being covered. They hit that one position where they could get on through, because I like that LG made the decision where, guys, there's no reason to push because Epsilon were ready for it. They were pre-aiming that wall run. They were pre-aiming those crates. If LG flew through, I think that's a round loss. Nice job by Josh, though, to make the call to go for that high wall run as he gets 3 right there to put this one back up 2-1 for Epsilon.
I do like LG was switching it up, though. They weren't just going to let that same thing happen on that previous offense where Epsilon won it pretty easily. But looks like the strategy changing. Going to take this bomb over towards this B site, and it's sort of a split push, a flank coming in the next probably like 10-15 seconds from Epsilon.
This should be a free plant for Classic, but no confidence yet to do it. They're reading the bluff. They're calling the flank, and they're going to go ahead and push right on forward. 4v2 is what they have in Garage. They've got to go before the players from Epsilon get here in time. First blood now for Hawkey, and I believe Vortex never gave away his position, so he's able to get 1. Josh now with the trade. Saints all by himself. Epsilon again with some masterful S&D decisions and a heads-up play from Vortex in the corner.
Just great stuff. They knew they were outnumbered. As soon as they got that call out, you see Hawkey, number 4, and your minimap backs up and just buys his time. He knows he got that kill. He knows they're going to try and get that trade efficiently. He doesn't let it happen. He backs up, gives his teammate a chance, and then Vortex plays it so well, not shooting at anyone until he knows he has a free kill, helping out Hawkey in turn. Great stuff. Great round.
We've actually seen smart plays like that from not only Epsilon this weekend, but you think back that Precinct uplink earlier when Nolson played rounds like that. Marky B had that 2-piece, or 3-piece, near statue. It's great to see some smart Call of Duty play from the European teams in those hidden scenarios, but just like this, again, LG decided to go towards B, and this time it's a quick plant from Epsilon today.
Calling the bluff. They knew LG was going to try and over-rotate towards B, so they decided to go to the other one. It's sort of like, you're kind of guessing in some of these rounds, but they have a plan in mind. You know they're trying to draw that defense over to the other side of the map. They switch it every single round. 30 seconds left. LG has to make a play, and very quickly.
Yeah, they had not even begun to break into the A site. They're going to try to 4-hit those 2 top doors. Josh is dancing around inside you. 20 seconds left. It's still a 4v4. LG, you've got to go. You don't have enough time to do this. You're dancing around too much. Yeah, just like that. They get smoked in deep. You say as the round goes on, you think they do worse. There's another example of it there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why they took so long. Bomb timer, 30 seconds left. They're not even into the bomb site yet. Like, you know, you just kind of got countered on that round in the original strategy. You might as well just try and make a play at that point. Don't just try and hang out. It makes the kills so much easier as the bomb timer goes down.
I believe it was mentioned that they did try to hop that defuse. I think is what Aches just said in my ear, as that was their goal. But the bomb, stretched a little bit further away, is able to get killed in time. Now again, I mean, this is a little bit more of a defense you're used to seeing, where at least you have someone watching towards B, which is Hawkey from Epsilon. So his team will have an idea of, hey guys, we saw one here, come over and help.
Slack didn't see anything towards that A site, setting up a sort of late flank scenario, and this could pay off dividends for him. Epsilon playing a bit slow at this rock. We got to switch on board with Slack, see if he can catch any. Catches one at the alley. The second on the bomb, the team kill going down. Trading so strong from LG, and that's the last one. And just a great play. Slack knew his team was going to draw all that attention over towards that site.
Yep.
He probably just counts it in his head. They've probably done this strat so many times. He obviously knew the plan in mind, caught the timing perfectly. Easy.
But how much has LG now mentioned that they found out their strength in S&D was just 4-hitting stuff as a team? So they're, you know, they don't show all their cards. They let Slack play that length flank. And if I'm Epsilon, I'm going, we know LG, they hold hands at all times on these pushes. They're not expecting Slack to be going for that late flank at A at all. Little mind games right there, which is honestly why I like a map like Crusher.
Teams going back and forth on these offenses. Epsilon getting the better. Originally, Dave trying to slide in, doesn't pick up that first kill. Reloads. Josh has his help, and they finally pick up those. Saints answers back. 2 versus 3 situation for LG. Octane wins that gunfight he probably should not have. 2v2 situation. Vortex has bomb and FTL.
That's what makes Octane such a lethal AR player with that NV4. That was an NV4 he got that kill with in that close quarters gunfight. Few players in the world can make that happen, especially against an ERAD flying at you. 2v2, both players deciding to rotate around the map together. 30 seconds left. Luminosity taking their time with this retake.
Vortex trying to see if he can spot any of these players. Meanwhile, Hockey trying to go back around. He gets the call out from his teammate that Vortex is setting up the pinch. Hockey just needs to stay alive. Picks up the first on Octane.
That's it.
Gets out of there, and that's the round right there. All they have to do is check the bomb. Not much Saints can do. Gets gunned as well.
The ERAD's pretty good, TP.
You think so, Jack?
It's pretty good. Remember when there was a time where we never saw it at all?
Yeah, I didn't like those times.
Neither did I, right? It's great to see just such a powerful weapon that obviously has many strengths, but also has its fair share of weaknesses where AR players can capitalize on it. But Hockey showing off its strengths there to close out that round.
ERAD doing some work over towards those close quarters, the rate of fire, the faster movement speed, so many different things. And then you have to look at Epsilon has all the advantage. Well, lots of abilities at the ready as well. Camo, FTL, Josh probably has that reactive at the ready. Should be a clean wipe for them if they decide to pop them here.
This strictly comes down to misuses on the side of Epsilon that can bring LG back in this game. FTL jump popped. That's for nothing, and players will back on up now with 3v4. And here comes the Camo charging on in. They're trying to end this game right now. 3v2, Vortex doing what he can to stay alive. GG. Epsilon mop the floor with Luminosity.
So this series going kind of as expected, to be honest.
Yep.
Epsilon went into that search and destroy with counters in mind. They pay off so well for them. And it just seemed like they were reading them like a book. It seems like they watched some film. We talked about it. LG plays a lot of search and destroy maps, pretty cookie cutter, as I like to call it. They have their strategies. They go to them. If they don't work, they don't work. Epsilon decides to use that to their advantage. They're different, sort of, not crazy offensive strats, but just playing to their advantage.
We've got ourselves a series now, TP, 1-1, and keep in mind, at Dallas, Luminosity were electric in uplink, 70+% win percentage in the game mode. Here, it's their weakest so far this weekend. On the other side of things, Epsilon, it is their best. So, this is the opportunity we talked about with Epsilon. You might have lost that first hard point, but this could be your saving grace to at least guarantee yourselves a Game 5 if you can't win that Game 4. We'll have to see if it happens. Epsilon LG, our final match of the night during prime time, has been lit so far. Don't go anywhere.
The two teams I think are going to move on from this group are us and LG. If we play like we have at Dallas and Atlanta, we'll definitely move on. And LG is just such a good respawn team. I don't think either of the European teams are going to be able to beat them.
I think us and E United will qualify purely because of E United's past performances, and I think we can edge out the other teams.
I think ourselves will qualify for playoffs, and E United. Obviously, E United have been great on this game so far, so I don't think you can really count them out.
I think the two teams that will qualify for playoffs will be us and E United, and I just think we're the two, better, well-rounded teams here.
I think the two teams that will qualify for playoffs will be ourselves and LG. I think that we've been putting in a lot of time and effort this last week or so.
I think that it'll be us and Luminosity who qualify for playoffs. I think E United won't be as good this event, and the Millennium might just fall short by like a couple games.
It's our final match of the night, which means it's our final G Fuel key player matchup, and it's between two superstars on Luminosity and Epsilon. Classic so far coming into this series has really impressed me this weekend, boasting 1.0 KDs in every single game mode. But on the other side of things, Vortex, his crafty submachine gun play can help bail out Epsilon in certain scenarios, and they're gonna need it right now on uplink. For me, this is a must-win map for them in this best of 5. We've got ourselves a series now, all tied up 1-1. This has been your G Fuel key player matchup. It is prime time here at the MLG Arena in Columbus, Ohio. It has been cold and rainy outside the last couple of days, but it is hot in here because we have ourselves a 1-1 series, TP, and I have no idea what I just said.
It is a little bit warm, Jack.
It is, but that's because you're here.
Because you said it was lit.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Puckett yelled at me for that. It has been lit, dude.
So we're going into this uplink. It's 1-1, and one thing we have to note is this the first time these two matched up, it was 3-1 in LG's favor. So when you talk about the head-to-head in this group, it's 3-1. Epsilon needs it here.
Oh, 100%. There's no way to argue it right now. You also think if LG wins a series, they're sitting pretty at 3-1 this weekend, while Epsilon dropped down to 2-2. Uplink on Frost will be next, TP. Is there a team you really favor on this map?
I think it's going to be fairly even. I think Epsilon with those ERADs can, sort of up the tempo to that sort of crazy pace, but, LG Slayers in general. I think Classic's one of the best ERAD players in the game. He gets that camo so darn fast in a lot of these games, so it's going to go back to head-to-head very well. I think 3 ERADs need to come out from Epsilon, possibly even 4. Just play as fast as you possibly can, catch LG off guard.
Speed, violence, and momentum is something that helps these European teams, especially on fast-paced maps like this on Frost. When you look at the side, though, of Luminosity, you mentioned the slang presence earlier. There were some jokes on Twitter about a camo use from Classic. We know how good he is in the game mode. Right now, if you could rank Classic of camo players in Infinite Warfare, where would he be? Is he top 5? Is he top 3 for you?
Oh, man, it's a bit tough. There's so many players that are so darn good at it, but yeah, definitely top 5. You could probably make a case for him top 3. Okay. Gunless and Karma. Obviously, yeah, I don't think he's quite as good as those two, but he could probably be top 3.
It's crazy to think that Gunless is a player that you can rely to get camo in every single map, and it's so rare. I mean, we saw with Aches on Cloud9. I mean, he literally never got it.
Okay.
I'm just saying that because when I asked that question to you, he answered in my headset. For viewers at home, you guys can hear, but Aches said, "Oh, he's right below Aches." That's what Aches said to me.
Okay.
He called himself Aches. Okay.
That's a little weird.
All right, Pat, that's fine. He's been gassing himself up though. Be ready for a lot of third person in this observing here for Frost uplink. He's going to be flying all over.
I like the 3P.
It's something new, and I've always been someone that doesn't like when new things get involved. So I'm getting used to it. It's growing on me.
Yeah, props to Pat. Getting really good at this driving thing. Camo use. I don't know if he's quite there.
Oh, much. I love it. TP throwing out roast to his old teammate and Rumi this weekend.
Yeah.
You actually, we have a call time for shows as we wait for this map to start on up, and you kind of yelled into Aches' door. We're like, Pat, you coming with us, buddy? And he still got here when he needed to, but you actually thought he wasn't even there. He was still asleep, though.
It's just Patrick Price. He's a mysterious guy. Yeah. I let him do his thing.
Okay.
He shows up when he needs to be here.
Well, he did show up just like Epsilon in that game, too. That's called a segue back to the game. We're following Josh off the break with the ERAD. He's got a K-bar as he pushes towards Cliff. I really need a nap, I think.
Energy is awesome, Jack. LG picking up these kills on this top side of the map. Drone should be moving up fairly quickly as well. Hockey doing his best. Ooh, a nice slide to get that kill onto the drone carrier. I thought some pressure was going to be going over towards that cryo side from LG. Hockey says, nope, this is my ball.
Not so much, and he'll go ahead and reset that drone towards middle. They'll play around kills for a moment, and he's got players inside chip, so this is already a great setup to have if you're Epsilon. You've got 3 players pushing towards this outside lane. Hawkey, because he's the last one to charge out, can go for the one, connects. A little bit sloppy, but it still gets the job done.
Got blocked on that jump just a little bit, gets the one off, and the 1 point already on the board for Epsilon. So a nice little counter to start that. They go down in kills. Hawkey gets control of the drone over towards middle. Doesn't waste any time getting it over towards ship. They get the 1-pointer and a couple of kills. They got control again.
Yeah, and this is what you love to see. Focus on this ship side. 3 go down for LG yet again. So Slang slightly in favor for the most part of Epsilon when you count where these kills are coming in. The kills on the scoreboard, though, about even right now as teams are just trading back and forth, vying for this control near ship.
ERAD gunfights going back and forth. No team can really get control. Octane gets gunned by Josh right there, though. Drone in his hands, moving it up towards this ice path. He jukes them out. They don't realize he takes it, gets the 1-pointer off. Hawkey answers with 2 again. They still have control of ship. One player is at middle. I don't think he realizes that the player from LG just get it.
Yeah, nice. Nicely done. Players did spawn up on the portal, though, and this is a sign of a veteran. Josh drops it. He'll play for kills. He knew there was no opportunity for him to go ahead and put another point on the board.
Vortex, some shaky shots. Doesn't pick up that player on the wall run with that drone. And that was a weird situation. LG's communication seemed a little bit off. Drone moving up towards middle. Saints should be able to get this 1 point off. Yes, he pops it in. Makes the score just almost even. 1 point deficit for LG. Some quality gameplay thus far, in my opinion. Lots of map control, lots of points.
It's funny to see how, like, yes, there has been a lot of map control, but they just thrown in the drone and then lost it for the most part. Epsilon had that 1-1-pointer where they at least kept 2 players up. But even there for LG, they just throw a last-ditch one. They're like, okay, let's play for the map reset. Here's another example as 3 go down on either side. Josh, though, with the 2-piece. Now on a 4 streak. He'll grab the objective yet again and earn that Scarab.
Not sure why he decided to go up towards that right side.
Yeah.
Gives the drone right into Saints' hands. Just going to control it, throw it down, try and pick up some more kills. Dave trying to be annoying in towards blue, but they realize it. They sniff it out and take him out instantly. Hawkey tries to move that phone just to make it a bit more difficult for them to get control. Gets a kill as well. Classic answers back with 2, though.
I got to ask, so far from who you've seen from Epsilon, we know the strengths of these certain players, and we've heard of and seen some performances from them throughout this year, but who's really impressed you the most that normally might not get the limelight on this team?
Hawkey's been playing extremely well. Hawkey and Josh, honestly, they play with so much speed. Hawkey picks up 2 of his own right there, starting off with 10. They are moving this drone over towards ship. LG's going to have to rotate back, but it has to be those 2 players for me that have been really keeping them in the spotlight.
Well, we'll keep an eye on them as this map goes on. Right now, Vortex gets the assist as they continue to clear out this mid lane, and this should be another score. There's 1 player to beat. It's Octane by himself, gets 3. Tries to stay alive and stop the drone from going in, but either way, the 1-point throw goes on in to make this a 2-point game, and you see the 4 times multi-kill, not enough to stop them from putting a point on the board.
Those are some big kills from Octane. They should have very easily got that dunk on the side of Epsilon, and now he's being the lead blocker for him and his team. Classic. Moving this drone up very quick. Octane picks up the first. The dunk should be going in. Dave absolutely melts both players, gets the drone off for the reset. So clutch there.
This has a Game 5 feeling for me all over at TP. I see Epsilon taking this map, LG getting the Game 4, and then we go to an S&D in which, if you look at history, it'll probably be LG throwing it away. But as we get back to this one, Vortex trying to fight from this middle map area, has a player just above him. I don't think he spotted him now. Does snap over to Saints to at least try to relieve some of this pressure as LG 3 dead, and Teep, you're shaking your head.
LG is starting to force these situations. These ERADs melt in exactly those close quarters, those mid alleys. LG needs to pick up those kills first because they just open up the kills with these ERADs for Epsilon. Granted, Epsilon's going clutch and picking up those kills at the perfect times, but LG should really slow it down and get more kills first.
Well, they do have a couple of those kills, as you mentioned, but they're on their side of the map, so at least Epsilon will be able to spawn up, defend this portal. Octane's gonna have to touch this drone. Yep, there you go. To stop it from resetting in middle map. And just like that, 10 seconds left. 1 final last-ditch effort for LG. I'm hearing some screams already from Epsilon, as I do believe they'll shut the door right there at the half. It will be a lead for the European squad.
This is just something that Epsilon is so darn good at when they have these 3 SMGs out. It's just so much pressure. It never seems like when the trades are going down, one of them, they take turns doing it, but one of them picks up a 2-piece, opens up the door, gets control back in their favor. This is sort of what I thought would happen, specifically on Frost. LG they get those first wave, they get the control, so steps 1 and 2 are quite good from them, but then they try and force the situation in those close quarters, and then Epsilon just taking turns getting those clutches.
And you can see Epsilon, they're favoring this inside area for the ERADs. Obviously, inside ship, we know the strength of this gun. Ironically enough, the one player who brought it towards Cliff where we questioned the decision was the guy who runs the AR, the lone K-bar on this team. Look at the pass feature coming into play.
Awesome.
The dunk from Epsilon as LG get juked again.
That was absolutely awesome. They didn't waste any time getting those passes off as fast as they could. They get the easy dunk. LG spent so much time wrapping around that middle of the map, and it's just basically for nothing. But now, moving this drone up, Slack decides to toss it in the other player's hands, but doesn't matter. Dave throws it down, cleans up the rest of the kills.
Wow.
3 streak for him, well, actually 4 streak after those 3 kills, and now he's the lead blocker.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he will get shot from side door, but either way, you've got to love the pressure Epsilon are putting on. But as we say that, 4 dead. Saints just fell off the map. Oh, okay, Pat, that looks kind of cool. And he still didn't score.
I don't know about that overdrive play from Octane. Yes, they picked up those kills pretty quick, but it's still, even with overdrive, you are quite fast, but it takes you that 2-3 seconds to get that drone up. Epsilon was just staring at the door like, okay, thanks for the drone, man.
Yeah, he sprints out, and it's for nothing, as now it's 3 dead again for LG. They just continue to get wiped off the map in succession, and because of that, they only have 1 point to show for it. 7 minutes almost of gameplay and only 1 throw on the board. Crazy to see from such a powerful slaying team like LG.
Hoggy has this overdrive. Will he decide to pop it? No, Octane picks up that kill towards that middle cut. Vortex going for this one. Can he get it off? No, the interception comes in. Slack throws that off, picks up the kills. Great stop from him.
I'll really never understand why players run the drone low side there and not just hit the wall run. Your teammate is still, no matter what, watching that outer lane, that front door from the position he's in. So going high just stops you from being able to be shot from that close closet area. Wonder if teams will begin to improve on that as the year goes on. Either way, what do we see? LG 3 dead again, a middle map. Drone now in the hands of the overdrive player, and he's going to go super speed. Here he goes. This is a dunk. Epsilon now up 7-1.
Easy dunk for him. Looks like Epsilon going to take this map somewhat easily. There is a lot of time, though. 2 minutes and 40-ish seconds left. Dave has control of the drone. His teammates get taken out. So smart play for him to throw the drone down, slow it down as he waits for his teammates to get back. Great play here.
What?
Baiting for Hockey. Picks up 2. Now he gets behind. Josh helping out with a 3rd. A clean wipe there for Epsilon. Dave making the plays, dropping down from ship, doing the loop-de-loop, and he's still going.
The loop-de-loop-de-pull, and he's still staying on the map, finally now dead. I thought he was going to take the drone and go low, but then again, it's Dave, and you kind of see that is the aggression that Epsilon have, right? They're so confident at certain times on these maps and game mode combination, and one of them just seems to be Frost Uplink.
Classic having a really good game here. They decided to pass it off to him because he has this camo payload available, but no, Vortex shuts it down before he can pop it.
There's that 2-piece you're talking about, right? Where there's always an E-Rad there to swing the numbers.
Just great plays overall. Octane trying to force a play. Can't really doubt him for doing it there. And this might turn into a situation where Classic's camo is going to be useless again. Yes, he's playing quite well. Him and Octane with some quality kills on the board. Slack, well, falls off the wall run there, so makes it a bit easier for Epsilon to push up. But look at the slaying, too. It's not like Epsilon is that far ahead, but it's the speed of the E-Rads, the momentum. I talk about the weapon being good in close quarters, but you actually move faster. It's so important.
Yeah, they're wheeling right now as Vortex is flying around. Classic doing what he can at 27 and 22. A great game from him, but the big standout part for me is look at that score feed on the right side of your scoreboard. A big goose egg. All these positive performances, these nice kills from 2 of their players, and it's for nothing. Finally, with camo, this should 100% be a dunk from Classic to bring this game back within 4. There it is.
Slams that one home. Classic trying to pick up a kill, not able to do it. There is 1 player alive from LG over towards blue, though. Octane picks up that beatdown onto Vortex, so remaining some sort of middle map control intact for them. Should pick up this kill at Ice Alley. Trade's going down. They do have a chance here. 45 seconds is going to be tough. They need a dunk off of this push.
And they need kills as well, as multiple players spawning up in the base. Classic is going to go for a 1. At least makes it a 3-point game. He just knew he had to get a score on the board. He wasn't going to be able to dunk there with 3 players on the portal. Slack now middle map. This is it for LG. Slack needs a huge 3-piece.
Drone moving up very quick. Classic takes him out. Some trades going in. Dave on the flank. He has the camo at the ready as well. Hockey's just taking this. Going to throw it up towards that back helipad. I love the play there.
Yep.
Tries to play his life, but just delay as much as possible. Only 15 seconds left. There's not enough time for them to get 2 scores. Some brilliant play from Epsilon here on Frost Link. We expected it. The EU teams have been so darn strong on uplink. They show it again. Very comfortable map from them.
GG for Epsilon. They'll take the series lead now up 2-1 over LG. as we talked about how important this series is for the weekend, TP, this could be the one we talk about. If Epsilon get a top 2 placing this weekend, this is the series we reference right here if they take this one 3-1.
Especially if they take this hard point, Jack.
Yep.
3-1 on the head-to-head. Then it would come down to some sort of other crazy scenario where other matches come into play. But Epsilon looking strong. Now's the time they needed to clutch up, and I think we're seeing it.
This is why we've got these teams in the CWL Global Pro League Stage 1, presented by PlayStation 4. LG, they're not very happy right now. They just dropped 2 maps in a row, now heading into another hard point, so this has been their best game mode up to this point this weekend. S&D was right there with it. But we know how bad they are in Game 5s, Teep, and that's the worry. One of the S&Ds they've lost so far was obviously in that reverse sweep to eUnited just yesterday. I'm scared if I'm a Luminosity fan right now.
Oh, definitely. And if I'm Epsilon after that map specifically, just pull out an extra ERAD, even in a scenario where you probably wouldn't. I think that extra speed, you saw that Classic and Octane on the side of LG had a very strong game, but it was the overall pressure. It's not like one player on Epsilon really had some sort of crazy score, but when you can just get back to where you need to be off a spawn so quickly, it pays off for you.
Keeping yourself involved in the action is one thing that the ERAD can most certainly do. Classic. Camo didn't do as much as you wanted. Unfortunately, can only guarantee you 2 points, not the 7 that they needed at one point in that map. We'll take a look at the box score from the uplink to see how it all broke down from side 1 and side 2, and Epsilon outscoring in both halves of that game. Classic's 35 kills was not enough.
LG did a good job of scoring some points in that second half with those payload abilities, specifically Classic. And Classic and Octane both have crazy games in terms of slaying. But those are the games I love. Epsilon just playing clinical uplink, scoring when they need to score, getting those 1 points early on instead of just trying to get greedy, go for those dunks. They get the points early, and it pays off later in that game.
Some solid payload uses as well. You think of that overdrive for the dunk from Epsilon, the camo from Classic to at least get his team their first dunk of the game. Side 1 was super scrappy. Side 2 made a little bit more sense for me and how the kills were coming in and how teams are pushing. Either way, Josh, he knows how important this is. This man has been competing forever, it feels like, in competitive Call of Duty. One of the winningest players in history from Europe. And he's surrounded himself with guys he's confident in. That's why he left Splice to join up with this team. They're willing to listen to how he wants to play, and right now they need him to make some big calls going into hardpoint.
They need to go clutch on this map number 4, Jack. And one thing I want to bring up as well, we talked about them going over film on that S&D. I think when they got that chain pass dunk at the start, they obviously knew what LG was doing on that breakoff on the second half. They take advantage of it, so maybe they have something else up their sleeves.
Hey, Epsilon, they look like they've studied so far this weekend. Teep, when you were a player yourself, were you someone that watched a lot of film?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Loved
that was
it.
your favorite
I was
thing?
a giant nerd. I love just counteracting whichever player I knew I was going to. It was mostly start-offs, right? You should kind of figure out which player you're going to be going against more often than not. I'd switch it up, do some random stuff here and there. Just gain the edge wherever you can.
That's funny to hear, man. I love it. It's little things that make the biggest of difference, especially when games like Call of Duty can happen so fast. One thing that can tilt another player, you never know how much of an impact it can make. And knowing their break, doing a dunk like that from Epsilon is something that really made them never look back on that map as they took it to go up 2-1. I would love it if we could show the full 5-game series, right, to see exactly where we stand now, because you mentioned earlier on how it was a 3-1 the last time in favor of LG when these teams met. This map looking like it's absolutely one that Epsilon must win, but if we do go to that Game 5, let's see exactly where it will all play on out. So it will go to throwback, Retaliation, hardpoint up next, TP. Is there a team you favor on this one?
You got to favor LG. This is looking like it's going to be going to map 5. You never know, though. Epsilon does have the momentum after that link. The EU teams have been absolutely dominant on it, but Retaliation, it's very easy. It's going to be easy for LG to slow it down, especially when they have people like Classic and Octane putting up such crazy numbers. It's going to be a hell of a map.
Let's get it started, baby. A quick look at Retaliation. EU versus NA. We've seen the battle of the two continents 4 times today, and right now North America is up 3-0. Octane making it rain. Whew. The only thing that's being rained on right now is a potential series victory for LG as they're with their backs against the wall, down 2-1.
Octane going to go over towards this bridge wall run off the start. Absolutely laser beams Josh off of that spot. Saints picks up a car bomb as well. Trade's going down early. I think Epsilon needs to focus on these first hard points, this bridge one in particular, of not going down too far, keeping it even as possible. because if it gets out of hand, you don't want Octane set up on this top street.
No, not at all. And you see how many NV4s are out between these squads. Sometimes we've been spotted, you know, 3 for either team. There, beautiful headshot from Classic. I think he knows there's someone at this close fan, and that's going to be Vortex challenging with the K-bar to try to ramp up this pressure.
Beautiful team wipe from Epsilon there. Just should be able to get the last 20 seconds of this hard point. So finally, getting some momentum early in these games. Hopefully they can try and close it out once it gets to the later rounds. Josh with some nice shots, the double over towards that back car. Vortex trying to pick up the last of the time, but LG's actually fighting those scraps.
LG trying to get that little bit of scrap time. They actually still have 2 players there, even with the new hill coming on up.
Not sure why they
delayed.
Yeah, I don't know why those LG players were standing on that top street for so long. Look, Epsilon's already set up here.
Oh,
Saints should not have won that gunfight. Josh, you got to pick that one up, my man. But Vortex answers back. The trade's going down. Octane is trying to pick up that player to help out his team. So back and forth battle. Some weird sort of situations early in this one.
And this is where Octane is at his best. He's in turret mode. Doesn't have any teammates to the lower street. Look at him snapping right on the guy's scaffolding. He's already weakened him. Just play your life right now if you're Octane. There you go. The assist comes in. LG now get control of middle street. And it all starts with plays like this from the man himself. Oh my God, nearly cuts down Hockey as well at the end.
Plat control so important. Slacked and Octane working together, K-Bar and NV4 to just look over that hard point, not let the enemy team pick up any sort of time. LG should be able to get the last 10 seconds or so, a bit of a lead, and they have this rotation. Dave needs to do his best to stay alive. Can he pick up the first? He does, but the trade should be coming in. And man, if he could have bought some more time, that would have been huge.
So right there, is that one where you want to kind of see him run and hide behind the back of the tank and just stay alive?
Yeah.
Don't even give him a chance to peek you there, I think.
It's tough, though. It's tough. You don't know where the other player is going to be sort of fighting you from. But regardless, LG has initial control of Cathedral. Epsilon trying to bounce back, but Saints picks up 2 of his own. 3 dead on the side of Epsilon. There is 1 player pushed up at market, which is Dave again. He does pick up the first. They might be able to set up a push as he blocks these spawns.
Yeah, he most certainly did. Look at where Classic just spawned up on your minimap, all the way across near scaffolding. So Epsilon, for a moment, will have a 4v3 number advantage. Kills going back and forth with now Josh and Dave trying to pinch onto this hard point. It's Slacked all by himself. Slacked still staying alive. Classic now here, 1v1. Dave gets it done again. 3 clutch 1v1 gunfights on that hill. Help Epsilon keep this game a little bit close.
Josh spawns up over towards Market, gets taken out. So they will get the last 10 seconds to scrap, but LG has the initial setup again. And this is what these North American teams are so good at doing, getting so much intra time where the team has to coordinate these breaks, which can be so difficult, especially on hills like Cathedral. Broken. Saints gets taken out in a pretty poor situation. I don't know why he was so far up.
Yeah.
Maybe Epsilon can break here.
And now look at where Saints just spawned. You can't talk about it enough on a map like Retaliation. It's literally the furthest spawn outs you can have in Hardpoint in Infinite Warfare. Slack, though, making up for a poor play from Saints by getting a 2-piece, make it 3. This curve area is his, and Epsilon now know it.
Slack bailing him out. A great play from him to pick up that triple. Just being annoying, trying to get that wave of pressure up on the map as far as possible. LG will most likely get the rest of this 30 seconds, and a crazy lead for them already here on Retaliation. Epsilon just doesn't seem like there's much they can do here.
Slack 13 and 4. Looking for more near this bus area of the map. Here they may come. There it is from Slack. And did he get the time? He did. So, oh no, his teammate actually hopped in just before him, so he will not earn the extra score for those streaks. That would have actually gotten him the Trinity and the bombardment, I believe, or gotten him about 1 kill off the bombardment. But either way, the damage has been done. Look at your scoreboard now, 120-52. This game has been completely blown open.
Josiah needs to play a little bit slow here, make sure he gets these streaks, but Hockey guns him, so that's huge. Streaks, we know, they're so important on bridge, he's not going to have them.
And now Dave is actually the one in the hard point with the MV4. Not the tool you want to have, and it shows right there. As Saints quickly hip fires him with the K-bar, gets 3 actually. He's now 12 and 10. This slaying definitely in favor this time around for LG, and they're making the most of it.
Slacked and Saints not having the best map number 3, but they decided to turn it up on this one. Both of them positive, a lot of kills early. Slack 16 and 6. He has the scare, but the Ready might decide to pop it, but they do have control right now. Epsilon trying to contest as much as they can, and they need to with this 60-point deficit.
Slack, he's not afraid to challenge anything right now. Saints with a quick 2-piece as well. Either way, at the end of the first rotation, what's one thing Epsilon can work on right now, TP, that can bring them back in this game?
I think when Epsilon has a lot of, an advantage in hardpoint in general, they have more interactions overall. Try and amp up this pressure in these contested sort of hills, so hotel hallway and on this bridge here. But when these players like Slack, they're just turned up like this, just going absolutely ham in these hard points. 17 and 7 for him. He picks up one with the Scarab. He's not afraid to challenge. Finally, something going in the way of Epsilon by the way of Hockey.
I think when we saw Epsilon play this map earlier on this weekend, we saw Josh flying around with that red dot K-bar, just bringing the action to wherever his opponents are. Now Hockey trying to do the same towards that back area of the map. Thankfully, it's a swift kill from Octane to stop that push. But either way, what was a 60-second lead or 80-second lead, now down to just 30, and we've got full streaks from Dave. Oh my gosh.
Skills, picks up his teammate's weapon, cleans up Slacked as well. Can he get the turn and burn? Oh my goodness. A huge win onto Classic there. He's still going. Put him in the headshot on Saints.
Put him in the top 5.
Weapons.
Put him in the top 5.
That's the top 5 for sure.
Oh, Dave, 8 streak, fully streaked out. He's about to earn the camo as well. And he'll hightail it out of there. Look at the scoreboard now, TP. Luminosity's lead has been disintegrated, and it's led by this man on your screen, Dave, a 9 streak, and he's charging towards his objective. 10. Where's 11? Hello, 11 now from Dave, the camo. Somebody has to stop this man.
He's about to get double streak.
There you go.
Doesn't even need to use them, has all this utility at the ready, so make note of that when we are on that rotation over towards Cathedral. Dave single-handedly getting his team back in this one, and this is the pressure I like to see, Jack. They need to challenge everything. They have the momentum in their favor. They can get the rest of this 30 seconds. LG spawning so far out. This is huge.
They're flying at everything right now. They've heard your prayers, TP. They're challenging every single gunfight. It was 132 to 50. And now it's 150 for Epsilon to the 142 of LG. And look at the utility Dave has. LG, you can rotate as early as you want because bombs are about to fall down from the sky at the hands of Dave.
Vortex picks up that first beatdown on this
Here
rotation.
he comes.
He decides to pull it out. But no, 2 of his teammates get taken out. I don't know about this play. I don't know why he called that bombardment so close. It was a bit of a panic. Vortex picks up 1. They have control of market, which is okay, but 1 player actually spawns behind them. The spawns are a bit unique in this situation. 8 should take out Hockey right there. Saints is able to do it. They spawn close, and
that's that moment.
What just happened?
That's that moment that you kind of think of. They have everything they need to get a break on Cathedral, and there's some misplays with the streak. Teammates die as it's getting called in. Thankfully, they at least have the Trinity to force players out of position. Josh does get 2. So 3 payloads ready to go for LG. This should be an easy 25 seconds now for Epsilon.
Okay, so they figure it out. They slow it down and use the streak how they should have the first time. But they wasted 30 seconds. We'll see if that bites them in the end of this hard point. They do get the rest of this scrap time, about 20 seconds. But now pretty much everything is gone. Yes, Dave has that camo, but LG has some utility now as well.
They have the utility already in the hard point with the Centurion. They want the full 60 on this hill, and they're going to fight for every second they can get. The Scarab now the entry for the side of Epsilon. Is it camo time from Dave? It most certainly is, and they've seen him pop this. Octane all the way in the back of the map. He's getting seeked out. There's the kill. 2 dead now. Make it 3 potentially as Saints has been spotted, but the collapse comes in and the reactive armor. So many resources into this. And in the end, it will be Epsilon coming out on top. But the close spawn did go in favor of LG. You need Vortex to sprint to this hill right now.
Hockey making a great play, just getting to the back. He knows where his teammates spawn. A nice shot over towards Octane. And a bit of a battle here in these head spots. Gets some help from his teammates, some back and forth battles. Looks like Classic's the only one in the back. Vortex picks him up, and Epsilon breaks. A huge camo play from Dave. Octane has his FTL at the ready. I'm pretty sure Classic's getting close to camo.
Dave, his 22 kills, every single one I feel like has had insane importance on this comeback and this lead they've now earned. It has been a 150-second swing from the last time we were on the broken hard point. Epsilon can now win off Top Hotel. They've got a 1-minute lead. Please, for all EU COD fans, no EU hard point choke right now.
I don't think they can choke with Dave shooting like this. He's positive 10 now on the map, which is absolutely absurd. He had that 10 streak, trying to help out his teammate in Hill. Some contesting going down. Classic picks up a double, which is huge for LG to stay in this one. But some gunfights going in back and forth. Vortex is on the pinch. He picks up 2. The last player from LG should get taken out, and there it is. They're running out far at Cathedral. They only need 15 seconds.
This should be it right now for Epsilon. They just need 10 more seconds in this game. The kill feed still all blue. Classic with one of his own. LG have to begin to push forward. There comes the play from Classic, though. He uses the camo to go for the retake.
Desperate situation. He has to pop that payload. Hockey doing his best to stay alive. He slides in, picks up the kill on Saints.
No.
One more player in the hill on him. Some trades going down back and forth. LG might be able to stay alive, but no, Epsilon is in control of the hill. Their spawn is out. They should be over here. It is 250, 184. Epsilon close out.
What a comeback there from Epsilon. They were getting slaughtered down by 80 seconds to then just destroy for the rest of that game. They outscored their opponents 200 to about 50 on the last set of hills. What a one-sided turnaround as we've got ourselves the storyline of the weekend now. Who will get second? Is it Epsilon or LG as we head into day 3?
Did they hear me?
I think so.
They just flipped the switch. I don't know what happened with these guys. Dave just started going on a tear. It started with him.
That was it.
And they actually used those streaks pretty poorly off the start, but they slow it down, they figure it out, and they chain. They get the snowball we talk about so much in hardpoint. Impressive stuff. They bounce back, and most importantly, get the 3-1.
You think about this. Epsilon today had to face eUnited and LG. They end the day 1-1.
Yeah.
I'm not too mad about that. If I'm an Epsilon fan, they've done the big thing, which is win this series right now 3-1. And on the floor, we actually have the man himself, the MVP of that game 4, Dave, with Maven.
Dave, God, for European fans this weekend, it's been up and down. There's been a lot of hard points that have gone not your way or Millennium's, but dude, you go on that 10 streak, you guys come screaming back. What'd that feel like, bud?
Well, I didn't realize I was on a 10 streak.
You were?
Yeah, I noticed I overlapped streaks. Like, I noticed as soon as I died, but yeah, I just felt like any other game. I didn't realize I was doing that good until the end of the game.
Well, that's a brilliant win because, you know, you lose that series. It's looking like you're fighting between 3rd and 4th, but now Epsilon beats you guys 3-1. You take them out 3-1. You have a big chance tomorrow, still at top 2. This is incredible stuff. I know you're looking forward to get back with the squad, but what do you guys need to do going into day 3 to get into top 2 into that $500,000 playoff?
We just need to play our game, really. Like, I need to stop getting world stat a bit, but yeah, if we're all shooting pretty well, like, I think it'll be fine.
Well, who in that series, you know, outside of yourself, you had a brilliant series. Was there anybody in your team that really stepped up there to get that win over LG? Because that's a big, big win, man.
I don't really remember scoreboards at all. Like, my memory is absolutely terrible. But in the S&D, I think Josh said a lot of stuff to like keep it, like told us what to do basically. So props to him.
All right, well, great stuff to you, great stuff to Josh, and they get it done. Puckett, guys, break down that Epsilon victory.
Thank you so much, Maven. This is the upset we were hoping for. We knew it was going to be all NA versus EU matches, and here we have EU coming out on top. One guy at the desk predicted this correctly.
Oh, I did too.
Oh, Felony was there too.
Yeah, leave me out of this.
All right. Props to Felony. I have it written
Joe
down.
copied me.
Chance, you were wrong, and so was TP though.
Nice.
So good try.
And Pat in the back.
Pat was way wrong. He said game 5, it was going to be all Luminosity. This one finishes in 4. What's more surprising, how it got done, or the fact that Epsilon's coming out on top? I mean, you guys called it.
I would just say that they take 2 respawns away from Luminosity. That's the biggest surprise. I knew going into game 2 that Epsilon, if they watched Luminosity play earlier today, they would have the counter strats, and you could see it. They win that 6-2. But winning that uplink in that hard point was just a huge showing of how skilled Epsilon is.
It was pretty amazing. In that last game, just got stats here from JP, our stats guy. He says, in the start of the second rotation, Epsilon outscored Luminosity 170 to 49. How did they turn that game around? Let's jump straight to game number 4 real quick. Felony, what did you see, other than Dave's 11 streak, what did they start fixing?
Dave getting that 11 streak, I know you don't want to talk about that, but Dave getting that 11 streak opened everything up. Score streaks and retaliation are so important because of the Grave Hill and the Broken Hill. The hills are just so open. So with camo plus a bombardment and a Trinity rocket, it makes it to where even if his team doesn't get that initial rotation, they're able to break and hold those 2 hills.
It was pretty impressive stuff. Dave finally showing up big. He had negative stats in every game mode coming into that game 4. I think we're going to see some different stats tomorrow morning. But let's take it back to the beginning now. Game number 1, Luminosity had a hot start. Classic had a 7 spree. Slacked, great game from him as well. And Octane, 152 seconds of hill time. He seems to be the designated hill man for his squad.
Yeah, the game was kind of nutty because Octane actually starts out with a hot hand, something like 7-2. So he was leading the slang early on by a lot. By the end of the game, he had like the fewest engagement on the entire map. But of course, that hill time was absolutely ridiculous. So his job was sit in the hill, hang out while his teammates do absolutely all of the work.
And you look at the scoreboard, I mean, right at this point, I mean, first of all, Epsilon set up Turbine perfectly. They rotate early, and then they allow Luminosity to break. I mean, it was 128 to 114. From this point on, Epsilon, they try to just overhit this hill. Then Luminosity get hanger, and it was very similar to map number 4. I mean, Luminosity just ran away with this one, just snowballing all those hills together.
And you just saw on the end of the map card that Josh finished with the highest kills on his team at 18. You look at the scoreboard right there, it was 117 to about 120. Josh was still at 12 kills. So they simply got outslayed in the second half, Felony.
Yep. Right here, as you guys can see, Epsilon hit scrap time for this turbine hill. And then what ends up happening is a Luminosity player Saints ends up getting rotation to Hanger Hill. And what that does is that snowballs that time from Turbine Hill and Hanger Hill. And this is where Luminosity really pulled away in this game.
Saints with that big win against Dave, that was kind of the difference maker in the second half of game number 1. That set them up to start pulling away. Luminosity at this point, well, things are looking according to plan for Chance and TP, but then the search and destroy came around, and this one was the Josh show.
Yeah, it was kind of that classic Luminosity as well, just because it was a terrible search and destroy play. So as Dave pointed out, the plays calls from Josh were absolutely insane. So if you had watched Luminosity play on Crusher earlier in the tournament, when they're on defense, they like to triple stack A and have one guy watch mid-map. So they completely give up that B bomb site. The very first thing Epsilon does, they immediately run straight to B, get the bomb down, and push right on through. And then as Luminosity is adjusting to that, well, Epsilon throws them a curveball, and then they hit A, and once again, Luminosity are completely caught off guard. They have no one there on defense, so just multiple play calls where Epsilon just had their number in the bag.
And this is pretty crazy because we're now in the second rotation. Remember, this is a round-robin group stage where every team is going to play every other team in the group twice. So they've been studying the film. They all went back, they watched the VODs, and Felony, you said that it looked like Epsilon had definitely been watching Luminosity play on Crusher.
Oh, every situational play, Epsilon was just on top of. The first 2 offenses, they knew that Luminosity, they knew that they just stacked A. So they went straight to B, pushed through, no hesitation. And then as soon as they were like, okay, Luminosity, they're gonna stack B a little bit. Epsilon went straight to A, no hesitation, planted, ends up winning the round. Just great plays from them.
And this is what we talked about with Luminosity. We said, yes, they're improving, and what we mean by that is they're playing together. You can see every round it's a 3-on-3 gunfight or 4-on-4. But the problem is when you start to play these better teams, eUnited, Optic Gaming, even Epsilon and Search and Destroy, they know how to counteract that sort of play. And you can see Epsilon, you know, they win that 6-2, win that final round. They have payloads before Luminosity and close it out.
Yeah, and it's a huge point as well that Epsilon, they've shown a willingness to learn. They're doing this on the fly. Like day after day, they're having that consistent improvement. Now, United, they don't need to improve at all. They're still the best team here. They haven't lost yet. But if you're the teams that are in that bottom 3, whoever's going to improve the most by the end of the week, they might very well be the team that comes out on top.
Pretty shocking results here for Epsilon. A lot of people in the crowd didn't see this one coming if you were on Twitter or even on the forums. A lot of people talking about just how strong Epsilon finally is on day 2. They showed flashes of this in the past. They showed up big, and we saw the dominance from the E-Rads kind of in that search and destroy on Crusher. That continued as we went into the uplink. What did we see as we went to the ice map?
I mean, just quick Epsilon. I mean, quick counters right off the bat. They had a few one-point plays where they really just threw Luminosity off guard. They just didn't expect it. Again, we talked about it right at the beginning of the second half started. They just go the opposite way for a dunk, and again, I mean, we're 40 seconds into the game. I mean, you can just see, it seems Epsilon just confused everywhere. You know, they were just able to counter it.
Yeah, both those situations right there where Epsilon was able to get points on the board, both were one-point tosses. Both times Luminosity had a team kill just before the points go in. In that second clip you even saw, there was just a complete lack of situational awareness of where the drone is going to be coming from Epsilon. You have 2 players looking the exact same direction rather than 1 player of each getting both of those cuts. So, you know, small mistakes with those communications, small amount of lack of awareness in those plays, and it cost them pretty big.
Yeah, that whole entire uplink, if you just look at the kill feed, all you see was Epsilon just chaining together kills. Every single time they were fighting for ball, you would just see Epsilon get 3 kills, immediately wrapping inside. And they were just playing fast and the more aggressive than Luminosity was, and they were able to come out on top.
Pretty impressive stuff across the board. It's Epsilon coming out on top. Any final thoughts on this game forward? You guys want to dive deeper into that retaliation hardpoint?
I mean, it just starts with sort of that bridge hill. I mean, Epsilon wins it 61-11, and then they're able to chain it. And really the big play for me was, I believe it was Dave. He pops camo, He sees a guy on bridge, or on that broken hill, sees the guy on bridge, pushes through that, gets the guy all the way in the back, and that allowed Epsilon to sort of get that scrap time in graveyard and push broken late.
Yeah, and Dave heating up as well is huge for Epsilon, because if you go back and look at the performances from Birmingham, he was that guy. He was like the best performer in every single game mode consistently across the board. But as we mentioned before, he's been struggling quite a bit this weekend. All of his stats were negative up until this series, up until really that final map. So if he's kind of able to find his game and help rally around his team, again, consistent improvements throughout the weekend, that could be huge.
And something else I noted, Felony, was a lot of our camo players are running the ERAD. You see it from Classic, you see it from Gunless on most maps. Davis seemed to be pretty confident running with the K-Bar, even in the close range scenarios on Crusher, Search, and Destroy. Do you want to see a K-Bar in a camo player's hands? Is this just a preference? Is there anything that you could teach the people who are watching at home?
The most important thing about camo in any game mode is just making sure you get it. And to make sure you get it, you want to make sure you're in a lot of interactions and a lot of situations to get a lot of points up on the board. And usually with an ERAD, you're able to get in those a lot of close range gunfights. Even with the K-Bar, as long as you're playing aggressive and forcing gunfights and your teammates are helping you out with plants, usually you can still get it. But that's why most of them are using an ERAD.
You talked about Dave's big play. It was after he secured those score streaks and, more importantly, putting that camo to use. We'll keep our eye on Dave in day number 3. But for now, we got to wrap up day 2. Here it stands. After 2 days of action, EU United a perfect 4-0, able to take out both Millennium and Epsilon today. Luminosity, they fell short against EU United after going up 2-0 last night, and now this loss to Epsilon makes day 3 quite interesting, Merc.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of those teams at 2-2, they both play EU United, they both play Millennium, so they split versus one another. So they have to put pressure, make sure you're winning maps against EU United and make sure you continue to beat Millennium.
You guys don't want to miss any of the action, and it all kicks off tomorrow. Join us. We will be live from Columbus, Ohio once again. It's the Call of Duty Global Pro League, and it's all going down. Week 3 finishes tomorrow. Who will be the top 2 advancing to compete for $500,000 in the playoff bracket? Join us. We'll see you tomorrow.